In this alternate age, the seeds of Saruman's loyalty are planted long before the darkening shadows from Mordor expand. Where once jealousy and ambition sparked in his mind, a sliver of humility takes root. Though proud of his lore and deep knowledge, especially of the devices of the enemy, Saruman sees in Gandalf's quiet wisdom a virtue that he cannot dismiss. The White Council meets in secret beneath the starlit sky in the year 2463 of the Third Age, for it is rumored that Sauron, or a power much like him, has taken residence in Dol Guldur. Saruman, though appointed the chief of the council, chooses not to hinder Gandalf's counsel, but rather to study it, letting go of the subtle scorn he might once have fostered. Still, his mind is filled with cunning. He does not forsake the study of the rings of power, nor does he abandon his search for the One Ring. He believes it may have been carried by currents of the Anduin into the Great Sea, or else lost in some black depth. Yet, in this telling, his quest for knowledge remains guided by his sworn duty to oppose Sauron. When Gandalf suggests that the council should not rest until the shadow in Dol Guldur is banished, Saruman does not hinder him. Instead, he urges swift action, though he conceals his deeper mind, wherein he harbors a faint hope that in learning of the enemy's arts he might turn them against their maker. And so he walks a narrow path. No traitorous designs yet bloom within him, but a fearful vigilance that he alone understands the gravity of Sauron's devices. Nevertheless, his decision in that first meeting to support the White Council wholeheartedly changes the pattern of history. No longer do the years slip away in fruitless deliberation while Sauron regains strength. Saruman persuades his allies that swift force is needed against Dol Guldur, lest the fortress become an unassailable bastion of dread. The will is hidden. Even Elrond and Galadriel, though cautious of using raw power too soon, see Saruman's argument. That a concerted blow struck at the Dark Tower might forestall future horror. Not long after, Gandalf ventures alone in secret to Dol Guldur, discovering at last the truth of the necromancer's identity. It is indeed Sauron returned, though not yet at the height of his power. Upon Gandalf's urgent return, he gathers the council. Saruman, grim-faced yet resolute, calls for immediate action. "We must drive him out before he can marshal all the scattered might of Morgoth's servants," he says. No voice raises open dissent. Even Radagast, timid and lover of beasts and birds, nods gently in agreement. So, in 2941, a decisive assault is planned. Galadriel wields the power of her ring, Nenya, alongside Elrond's mastery of lore. Saruman, robed in shining white, leads the assault with Gandalf at his right hand. From Mirkwood's edges, Thranduil's archers harry the minions of Dol Guldur, while in the skies, eagles, summoned in part by Radagast's alliance with the creatures of the wild, soar. It is a mighty gathering, a reflection of the last alliance of elves and men in miniature, but also a testament to what unity among the wise can achieve. When the White Council strikes at Dol Guldur, Sauron realizes he cannot hold it. The ruse of feigning weakness no longer serves him well. He flees in haste, relinquishing his fortress rather than risk being pinned. But even as he withdraws to Mordor, he casts a final malignant glance across the land, vowing revenge. Amid the smoldering ruin of Dol Guldur, Saruman stands triumphant, proclaiming that the day of the enemy's destruction draws nearer. Yet a chill falls upon the victors, for they sense that in Mordor, the Great Eye will soon kindle again to full flame. With Dol Guldur emptied, the White Council returns to their respective strongholds. Saruman, however, quietly requests leave to remain vigilant in the east. He establishes a watch near the fords of the Anduin, and he often journeys in secret to the Gladden Fields, still searching for any sign of Isildur's bane, the One Ring. These journeys, once overshadowed by a private lust for power, are now guided by duty. He seeks to find the ring and destroy it, or, if fate allows, keep it from the enemy's hand. No longer does he hide this quest from the council. He shares fragments of news with Gandalf, and the two maintain a wary partnership. Their relationship is still tinged by tension. Gandalf's humility stands in contrast to Saruman's more commanding presence. But mutual respect tempers old rivalries. This subtle change ensures that Saruman never breaks from the fellowship of the wise, never lets suspicion fester in the darkness of his heart. The years roll on, and Sauron fortifies the land of shadow around the fires of Mount Doom. Black-fletched orcs multiply across the Duath, and rumors of war seep out into the Freelands. But the White Council, bolstered by unity, prepares. Even as Bilbo Baggins hosts dwarves in the Shire and stumbles upon his own piece of curious fortune, the eyes of the wise remain fixed on Mordor. They hear of the 9 riders, the Nazgul, who roam far and wide, servants of the Dark Lord's quest for the ring. Saruman labors tirelessly. He does not breed an orc army in Isengard. Instead, he maintains the forges for forging cunning contrivances of war, meant to combat the orcs and other vile creatures. He instructs men of Rohan, who dwell not far from the Tower of Orthanc, in the arts of new defenses. The Rohirrim, though proud and resolute, are reluctant to adopt the complexities of mechanical warfare. Yet the White Wizard pleads his case with King Theoden, whose mind is still clear and unclouded by Wormtongue's counsel. Through Saruman's friendship with Gandalf, who has long loved the riders of Rohan, he wins the trust of Éomer and Éowyn, sowing seeds of fortification rather than corruption. In the quiet that precedes the storm, a second great gathering of the White Council is called, this time in Rivendell. The year is 3018 of the Third Age, and tidings have reached Elrond of Sauron's next move. Spies confirm that the enemy has sent forth his ring-wraiths in search of the One Ring, rumored to be somewhere in the wide lands of the West. Among those who gather are Saruman, Gandalf, Elrond, and Galadriel, as well as representatives of the Dunedain, including Aragorn, son of Arathorn. Saruman speaks with an authority that is tempered by sincerity rather than disdain. "We must not let that ring cross into the enemy's hand," he says. "If it does, all our victories will turn to ash." Gandalf concurs, urging quick counsel. "We must ensure that if the ring is found, it be brought swiftly into safekeeping, and we must be prepared for the final push into Mordor, for it is there alone that the ring can be unmade." A hush falls. Saruman has not hidden from them the method by which the ring might be destroyed. He has scoured ancient scrolls from the archives of Gondor, come upon by chance in a more open alliance with Minas Tirith's librarians. Elrond sets forth a plan. "We shall keep watchful eyes on all roads and rivers, from the Shire to the Old Forest, from the Emyn Muil to Rohan, that any strange tidings of the ring might swiftly be known to us. And if it should come into our hands, we must gather again and decide upon its fate. As chance or fate would have it, Bilbo's heir, Frodo Baggins, inherits the One Ring. Events play out much as the histories recorded. The 9 set forth, hunting the Hobbit. Yet here in this alternate telling, Saruman, ever watchful, senses the stirring of the Nazgul earlier. His spies confirm that a small hobbit has embarked from the Shire in the company of a ranger known as Strider, heading eastward. Sauron, learning from Gandalf that this hobbit indeed bears the One Ring, dispatches riders of his own to distract or delay the ring-wraiths. Now, the 9 still chase Frodo, but they find the ways set by unforeseen hindrances. Illusions conjured by Saruman's hand, a great swirling mist that confounds the undead horses, archers posted near Sarn Ford. Despite these attempts, Frodo is wounded on Weathertop, but his road to Rivendell is less harried and arrives more swiftly. The council in Rivendell is reconvened, joined this time not merely by elves and wizards, but by representatives of men, Aragorn and Boromir, dwarves, Gloin and his son Gimli, and hobbits, Frodo, Sam, Merry and Pippin. Saruman arrives, robed in white, staff in hand, face set in determination. He assures all present that the ring must be destroyed in the fires of Mount Doom. He dispels any doubt that the One Ring might be used for good. When Boromir raises the possibility of harnessing its power to defend Gondor, Saruman's voice is stern. There is no mastery of the ring save by Sauron himself. We would become as shadows of ruin if we claimed it. The Fellowship of the Ring is thus formed, but with an unexpected addition. Saruman sends one of his trusted captains, a man named Raeldir, to journey partway with them. An emissary of the White Council, armed with cunning knowledge of safe routes and strategies. Though the 9 set forth, they do so under the watchful eye and guiding hand of the wise. In Holland, the Fellowship finds safe camps prepared in secret by Saruman's watchers, men loyal not by sorcery but by shared cause. The journey through the mines of Moria remains fraught with peril. The Watcher in the water, the drums in the deep, the Balrog. Yet Gandalf stands not alone upon the bridge of Khazad-dûm. In this history, Saruman, though not physically present, has provided him with lore of the ancient city. So Gandalf leads the Fellowship with greater caution. When the Balrog emerges, Gandalf's stand is epic, but aided by subtle wards prepared through Saruman's research. Though Gandalf still falls into shadow, his victory over Durin's Bane comes swifter. He returns as Gandalf the White in less time, found by the eagles in the depths beneath the mountain. Some say Saruman's forethought in summoning Gwaihir to watch the Eastern Heights was the reason for Gandalf's quicker rescue. While the Fellowship splinters after the fall of Gandalf into Moria's chasm, Saruman's role shifts to strengthening defenses throughout Rohan and Gondor. He does not claim lordship over Rohan, rather he stands as a wizard allied with King Theoden. Thus the corruption of Grima Wormtongue never takes root, or if it does, it withers in the presence of Saruman's vigilance. When Gandalf emerges reborn, clad in white, the people of Rohan rejoice, seeing that 2 white wizards now stand as pillars of hope. In Gondor, the steward Denethor remains proud, but he does not wholly reject Saruman's counsel. Although he is wary, several centuries of lore do not vanish from memory. He cannot deny that Saruman's wisdom has proven effective against Sauron's far-flung servants. By 3019, the armies of Mordor press upon Osgiliath, and the White Wizards coordinate with the Steward's forces, forging a united front that stands better prepared for the onslaught of the Easterlings and Haradrim. As the War of the Ring crescendos, Sauron unveils a terrible host. The skies blacken, the great eye roams from the spires of Barad-dûr. Minas Tirith braces itself. Yet, in this reality, the city's defenses are bolstered by cunning devices. Catapults improved by Saruman's study, reinforced gates, and the watchful presence of eagles above. When the siege begins, the White Wizards coordinate from the walls. Saruman calls upon the hidden strength of the Palantir of Orthanc, not to communicate with Sauron, for that path leads to madness, but to glean the enemy's movements. This new vantage allows the defenders to anticipate the Orc siege towers, focusing ballista fire to cut them down before they can latch onto the city's walls. Meanwhile, Gandalf rides upon Shadowfax through the streets, heartening the defenders, urging them to stand fast. When the Witch King of Angmar breaches the gates, Gandalf meets him in open defiance. Saruman summons a dazzling white flame to fortify Gandalf's stand, so that when the fell voice of the Nazgul calls out, it meets the combined power of 2 wizards. And though the Witch King's might is formidable, he does not linger in that dread clash, for the horns of the Rohirrim sound upon the Pelennor. The day breaks in shards of gold, as Eomer's cavalry slams into the flank of the Orcish legion, scattering them like crows before a storm. In the forest of Fangorn, Treebeard the Ent, once prodded into wrath by the treachery of Saruman, now finds himself in a peculiar alliance. The White Wizard has never ravaged the forest with machines or axes. Instead, from the earliest days of his settlement at Isengard, Saruman has kept a respectful distance from Fangorn, limiting his mechanical expansions. Though he does cut down some trees for the forges, he always speaks with Treebeard first, ensuring replanting and minimal harm. Thus, the Ents remain neutral but not hostile. When news arrives through the swaying boughs that the war escalates around Minas Tirith, Treebeard musters the Ents at Saruman's urging. Together they ravage the armies of orcs, attempting to reinforce Mordor from the west. Many a band of Urkai falls to the might of the Ents, their path to Rohan blocked by living forests awakened to wrathful purpose. After the victory upon the Pelennor fields, Aragorn arrives with the captive fleet of Umbar, having seized the corsair ships with the Grey Company. Uniting with the forces in Minas Tirith, they decide to march upon the Black Gate, drawing Sauron's eye away from the hobbits who creep ever closer to Mount Doom. Here, the presence of both Saruman and Gandalf as white wizards proves formidable. They counsel Aragorn on the strategy, convincing him that a bold feint on the Morannon will lure Sauron's gaze. Thus, the host sets forth, though diminished in number yet high in spirit. At the Black Gate, the mouth of Sauron appears, displaying tokens meant to break their resolve. In the real telling, these tokens might include Frodo's mithril shirt, but here, the Council of Saruman has arranged watchers along the Cirith Ungol Pass, ensuring that Frodo and Sam slip through with less peril. Gollum is still a danger, but he cannot alert Sauron quickly, and so Frodo's garments never fall into the enemy's hands, leaving Sauron uncertain of the halfling's fate. When negotiations fail, the gates of Mordor open, disgorging a legion of orcs, trolls, and vile creatures. The two white wizards stand side by side, staffs raised, weaving illusions of bright flame and swirling lights to disorient the orcish ranks. The eagles appear above, striking terror into the hearts of the Nazgul. Though outnumbered, the allied host stands their ground. Aragorn, wielding Anduril, rallies men of Gondor and Rohan. Legolas and Gimli fight back to back, forging an unbreakable bond of elf and dwarf. The air grows thick with battle cries and dust, but in a fleeting moment, somewhere far away, the ring meets its doom in the fires of Orodruin. In the heart of Mount Doom, Frodo wrestles with the ring's seduction. Even in this alternate telling, he claims it at the last. Gollum, tormented by his lifelong obsession, bites it from Frodo's finger. Yet that small tragedy leads to triumph, for Gollum stumbles over the precipice and vanishes into the fiery chasm with the ring. In that cataclysmic instant, the Black Gate is shaken. The Nazgul shriek, their essence ripped apart as the ring's power unravels. Barad-dûr crumbles. The ground beneath the armies of the West heaves, toppling towers and dusting the sky with black ash. In the aftermath, Aragorn's banner stands tall. Gandalf and Saruman, weary yet exultant, lower their staffs. The orcs reel without direction. Many flee, many are cast down. The victory is won. Sauron is vanquished, dissipated into the void. Middle-earth breathes once more. In the days following, Aragorn is crowned King Elessar. He welcomes all peoples to aid in rebuilding the sundered realms. Saruman, still the head of the White Council, pledges the law and power of the Istari to heal the scars left by war. Never does he claim dominion for himself. Never does he try to shape the world in his own image. Instead, he journeys widely, offering guidance to help restore the East and South from the ruin of Sauron's tyranny. The greatest marvel of this age is perhaps in Isengard, which does not become a place of gloom and machinery, but blossoms as a center of learning. Saruman opens Orthonk's libraries to scholars of Gondor and Arnor alike. There, the secrets gleaned from lost ages, carefully purged of malice, are studied to the benefit of all. Farms flourish around Isengard's ringed wall. The waters of the Isen run clear again, and travelers speak of the White Hand as a sign of aid, not fear. With the ring destroyed, the purpose of the Istari draws to a close. Gandalf sees that Saruman, freed from the torment of ambition, has fulfilled his duties. Word spreads that the ships in the Grey Havens may soon bear the wizards back to Valinor. Yet Saruman does not hasten to depart. He believes that Middle-earth, though free of Sauron, still needs guidance. Only after many years, as King Elessar's reign blossoms into an age of peace, do the two white wizards journey west. They leave behind a legacy that resonates through the Fourth Age, a Middle-earth unscarred by the horrors of a second treacherous wizard. Fangorn Forest remains peaceful, the Shire untouched by vengeful hands, and the relationship between elves, dwarves, and men stronger than it has been since the days of old. The crowning seat of Orthanc stands not as a symbol of corruption, but as a white spire of shared knowledge. So ends the tale of a world in which Saruman the White remained ever true to his calling. In the annals of this telling, he is remembered as the great shield of the free peoples, forging alliances out of cunning and compassion rather than lies and deceit. He kept vigil upon the doings of the enemy, employing craft only to unmake the arts of darkness. Alongside Gandalf, he was the shining sword of wisdom, cleaving the shadows before they could set their roots too deep. In this brighter turning of events, many sorrows are spared, though not all. For in Middle-earth, no victory comes without tears. Boromir still finds redemption in defending the hobbits from orcs upon Amonhen. Theoden falls upon the Pelennor, fulfilling his oath as a king. Elves depart across the sea, leaving the land to the dominion of men. Yet the evils that once scattered the fellowship of the wise do not flourish. The scouring of the Shire never comes to pass. The trees of Fangorn remain tall and unburned, and the name of Saruman is not a curse, but an honor. Thus we see how delicate the balance of fate can be, how a single choice to remain faithful rather than ambitious can unwind or bind the fortunes of many. Middle-earth stands as testament to the resilience of hope, fragile as the first flowers of spring, yet fierce as the storms that rolled down from the misty mountains. The White Council, bound together in purpose, topples the might of Barad-dûr, and in the hush that follows the final thunder of war, songs rise in Rivendell and Minas Tirith, in Edoras and the green hills of the Shire, praising the memory of Saruman the White, who once and always stood against the darkness.